It's Kira. In this video, I'm trying out the art of paper cutting. I I happen to come across this one artist who does these amazing, intricate paper cuts that are literally like so thin. I don't know how she does it, but it got me interested in just this art. I forget what it's called. It's like something with a K. It's like this Japanese paper cutting, and it's like super detailed. So I Googled some stuff and just looked at what like just some examples of things, and I felt really motivated to like do my own project. This is nowhere near as like amazing as some of the other things I've seen, but I kind of just picked something that I thought would be relatively easy and that I could do in a well, this did take me like quite a bit of time, but nowhere near the amount of time that some of this other stuff would take. So I chose to do a seahorse because I love seahorses. They're like my favorite little like underwater creature. And then I just kind of thought, oh, why not glue it to a back of origami paper so it would like show through. And then I also just sketched like a random flower and I cut out one of those flowers from the origami paper. And then I figured, oh, I could do a watercolor background. So this kind of just was an experiment and it just came to me while I was I started and then I'm like, oh, okay, this will look cool, that'll look cool, and I just went with it. So yeah, I fast forwarded this like 16 times because it really did take a long time to cut out everything, and then some of the pieces got ripped because I mean, it's not even that thin, so I don't know how people cut out really, really thin lines, but it doesn't look too bad because you can't really tell after it's glued. So yeah, this is just cutting it out again. I just figured it would be easier to just glue it to the origami paper and then cut it out. I don't know how else you would do it, but yeah, and then that's the flower. And I actually was gonna flip over the flower, and when I glued it down, I glued it down the wrong side. But then I realized I kind of like how it looks with the white over the black or brown or whatever color. And here I'm just cutting out the flower. I just cut out most of this video because it took a long time and it's just the same thing. And then I glued it to this paper. I accidentally got paint on this old magazine and then I thought it looked cool, so I was like, oh, I'll just glue that to it. And then here I'm just doing a quick watercolor background on watercolor paper. I just used blue and yellow. So I cut out this from the origami paper. I figured that would be kind of cool. And then I also cut out these two. I drew them, just sketched something out on a paper and then cut it out. And then the background is just watercolor on watercolor paper. And I found this frame thingy and I was thinking of maybe just putting it around it. But I don't know if it would look better with a dark frame or if the light frame is okay. Like maybe a dark blue frame would be kind of good. So I was thinking of painting it, but then, I don't know, I kind of like the way it looks like this, so I might just leave it. But I'm just going to glue all these down, and I don't know how this doesn't look like it's going to stay flat. And this doesn't either, but that's what I'm going to do next, just glue everything into place. And I think I'm going to stick with this placement. I kind of like how, I don't know, maybe this part's kind of weird, but I kind of like how this is, or maybe I'll have that like that. Or, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out the best placement. Maybe like that. I like that because nothing's like too on top of each other that way. Alright. So once I decided on the placement, I just glued everything down, and these small pieces weren't really that hard to glue flat, but the flower and the seahorse, I put a book over it just to make sure it glued flat. So, and then after I glued everything, I also kept the frame on there just to make sure that everything was in the right place so that the frame would fit around everything. And then after I glued everything down and it dried overnight, I went over the whole thing with a varnish that's it's a like I think it's meant for acrylic paint, but it worked fine for this, just to give it a nice like glossy finish. So yeah, yes, that's the varnish that I used, Liquitex gloss varnish. Yeah, so that was it. I had a lot of fun doing this, and